Hey, what is going on everybody, and welcome to Fantasia. And for this week, our topic of discussion is about an archetype that recently got enough new support to completely redefine its playstyle. That's right, today we're going to be discussing the newest additions to the Lunalight archetype. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into this. Alright guys, so in this video, we're going to be breaking down and analyzing the impact that the new Lunalight support can potentially have on TCG Lunalight builds and the possibilities that open up as a result of their creation. The 5 cards we're going to be analyzing today include Yellow Marten, Emerald Bird, Serenade Dance, Sabre Dancer, and Lunalight Fusion. Now before we begin, I just want to clarify that the analysis of these cards will be purely objective and not based on the personality of the deck or anything of that sort. So let's begin by taking a look at what is undeniably the best support card released for Lunalights from this set, Lunalight Yellow Marten, whose effect reads: if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target one Lunalight card you control, except Lunalight Yellow Marten, return that card to the hand, and if you do, special summon this card in defense position, but banish it when it leaves the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one Lunalight spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, and you can only use each effect of Lunalight Yellow Marten once per turn. Now, I've always been a firm believer that Lunalight Tiger is the centerpiece of the Lunalight archetype and is the sole reason why Lunalights are still able to keep up with the current state of the game. During the conceptualization of one of my signature decks, Dark Lunalights, Blackwing Zephyros the Elite was a tech that was used to abuse Lunalight Tiger's Pendulum Scale effect repeatedly in a single turn by bouncing it from the field back to the hand and allowing you to reactivate it. Now, with the addition of Yellow Marten, who has an extremely similar effect, Lunalights are capable of activating Tiger's effect consistently at a minimum of 3 times per turn, and up to 5 times if played out optimally with the help of Zephyros. Yellow Marten's interaction with Tiger opens up a ton of 2-card combos that would have normally taken at least 3 cards to replicate. With this newfound combo potential, the deck is able to extend its plays to create extremely oppressive boards on your first turn. And for those of you who are new to my channel, you heard that correctly. Your first turn. Lunalights now have the potential to go first and set up both disruptions and negations with the help of this new support, just as they were able to back during Zodiac format. Now, speaking of Zodiacs, the next card on our list is actually a very essential play enabler and combo extender for the archetype that very closely resembles that of Zodiac Thoroughblade. Lunalight Emerald Bird is one of the rare support cards that actually fixes many of its archetype's problems, and it reads: if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one Lunalight card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, draw one card. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can target one level 4 or lower Lunalight monster you have that is currently banished or in your graveyard, except Lunalight Emerald Bird, special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated. You can only use each effect of Lunalight Emerald Bird once per turn. The first effect of Emerald Bird is actually its most important one. The inherent problem with playing Lunalights used to be that they couldn't set up their graveyard consistently enough to enable combo plays with Tiger or Perfume. The archetype heavily relied on first turn access to Kaleido, which made their major combo enablers extremely concentrated within 4 or 5 cards in the deck, assuming you also played cards like Armageddon Knight. However, with the release of Emerald Bird, not only is it easier to set up your graveyard, but you also have consistent ways to trigger your secondary Lunalight effects outside of fusion summoning. Depending on what you send to the graveyard, you can gain small +1s in terms of advantage, or set up for explosive plays. Kaleido can recover Polymerization, Crimson Fox can change the attack of one of your opponent's monsters to 0, Yellow Marten can search for a Lunalight spell or trap card, and Emerald Bird can special summon a Lunalight monster back from your graveyard or banish pile. Now, I need to reiterate what makes Emerald Bird such a potent addition to Lunalights is the fact that it allows you to trigger these effects outside of fusion summoning, which is an inherently costly summoning mechanic that requires a minimum of 3 cards to invest in. It's also important to note that Emerald Bird can potentially replace a poor draw in your hand with a new card from your deck, especially cards such as Purple Butterfly and Serenade Dance, which function much better in the graveyard than in your hand. So speaking of Serenade Dance, that will be our next topic of discussion. At first glance, this card seems very mediocre and out of place for the archetype. Reading: when a fusion monster is special summoned to your field, you can target that monster. Special summon 1 Lunalight token, which is a Beast Warrior Dark level 4 with attack and defense of 2000, to your opponent's field. And the target monster gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent controls. You can banish this card from your graveyard, send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, and special summon 1 Lunalight monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Lunalight Serenade Dance once per turn. Now, obviously, you will never be using the first effect of this card. It's way too slow and has too many prerequisites for practical application, so we're gonna pretend as if it didn't exist. The real gem in this card lies in its second effect, being able to special summon any Lunalight monster from your deck to your side of the field. The only problem that this card has is getting it to the graveyard in the first place. Now, most players automatically look to Foolish Burial Goods, but wait. Whoa. Slow down there, buddy. Luckily for us, we have a very consistent solution to this dilemma within the archetype. The interactions between Yellow Marten and either Emerald Bird or Perfume. It's important to note that Serenade Dance is searchable by Yellow Marten's second effect and can easily be sent from your hand to the graveyard with Emerald Bird or Perfume to prevent going minus. What I mean by that is that using Foolish Burial Goods to set up Serenade Dance will net you a -1 in terms of card advantage. -1 for the Foolish Burial Goods, -1 for the discard cost of Serenade Dance, and a +1 from the monster you summon with its effect. In comparison, Emerald Bird or Perfume replaces the Serenade Dance sent to the graveyard with a draw or a search, which nets you a neutral +0, and the monster summoned from its effect will give you an easy +1. The difference between these two lines of play is 2 cards, which is actually enough to make or break an entire match. If you're looking for other ways to access Serenade Dance that doesn't require a heavy minus, then you're in luck. Cards that are naturally played in Dark Lunalights help give you even more consistent access, namely Armageddon Knight and Curious the Lightsworn Dominion. Throughout my playtesting of these new cards and the help of our community's very own Sir Emanon, we've created what I like to call the Trifecta combo. This combo requires 3 specific cards in order to achieve: Perfume, Serenade Dance, and Zephyros. This specific combo can easily be set up with the search effects of Yellow Marten and Force Strix and allows you to mitigate the discard costs and continue playing. The interaction between these 3 cards goes as follows. Perfume can banish itself from the graveyard, sending Serenade Dance from the hand to search for a missing combo piece. This will usually be Lunalight Tiger or Black Sheep. Serenade Dance can then banish itself from the graveyard, sending Zephyros from the hand to special summon a missing combo piece from the deck. This will usually be Lunalight Kaleido or Emerald Bird. With this, you're set up with Tiger in hand, Zephyros in grave, and Kaleido on field, which opens up a multitude of follow-up plays. Whew, alright, so now I know that I just gave you a ton of information about how the ceiling of Lunalights was raised tenfold. Now let's take a few minutes to just relax and explore the last 2 new support cards that were released: Lunalight Sabre Dancer and Fusion. Starting off with Sabre Dancer, she is actually a pretty decent addition to the extra deck of Lunalights, and she reads: she requires 3 Lunalight monsters in order to summon. Must be fusion summoned. Cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. Gains 200 attack for each Beast Warrior monster in either player's graveyard or currently banished. During your main phase, except during the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one fusion monster you control. It gains 3000 attack until the end of this turn. You can only use this effect of Lunalight Sabre Dancer once per turn. So Sabre Dancer is quite the interesting card. She adds flexibility to the fusion lineup with generic materials that make her easy to access at any point during the duel, although you would typically summon her mid to late game with the effect of something like Lunalight Wolf. Her effect grants her enormous attack power, and targeting protection is one of the best there is. This is in stark contrast to the other generic fusion in the extra deck, Lunalight Cat Dancer, which is vulnerable to both targeting and destruction effects, especially since her burn effect is mandatory on attack declaration and opens her up to destruction by Ghost Ogre or effect negation. Now, there isn't much else to discuss about Sabre Dancer, but one little nugget that I want to leave you off on is that she opens up the potential to cut Leo Dancer from the extra deck. Whoa, I know, right? Blasphemy! How dare you suggest that Leo Dancer be cut from the extra deck? Now, before everyone pulls out their pitchforks and torches, I want to note that this largely depends on the type of build you're playing. A pure OTK-oriented build will definitely have more than enough extra deck space for both Leo Dancer and Sabre Dancer. However, other variants of the deck might find themselves in a predicament in terms of space. Sabre Dancer allows you to cut down on a copy of Panther Dancer, which would normally be banished to make Leo Dancer with, as well as Leo Dancer herself, since Sabre Dancer's graveyard effect can enable the easiest of OTKs when coupled with Panther Dancer, much like how Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libe functions in trains. Without any external support, a Panther Dancer boosted by the effect of Sabre Dancer can OTK if your opponent controls any single monster with 1800 or less attack on their side of the field. This frees up 2 extra deck spaces for other options that can provide the deck defensive utility and toolboxing opportunities. And finally, last but not least, we have Lunalight Fusion. Now, throughout the course of this video, we've discussed combo potential, defensive utility, and toolboxing options that are available for the deck. Unfortunately for us, though, Lunalight Fusion offers none of that. From an objective standpoint, Lunalight Fusion offers nothing new to the archetype and promotes a glass cannon mentality and playstyle which can drastically hamper the versatility and flexibility of builds. Most players, upon the release of the card, compared it to its predecessor, Serenade Fusion. However, there are very drastic differences in card design that don't necessarily make them comparable. The effect of Lunalight Fusion reads as follows. Fusion summon one Lunalight Fusion monster using monsters in your hand or field as fusion materials. If your opponent controls a monster that was special summoned from the extra deck, you can use one Lunalight monster in your deck or extra deck as one of the fusion materials. You can only activate one Lunalight Fusion per turn. Now, there are some similarities between these two cards. Both of them act as a regular polymerization by default, but they both also offer the opportunity to use materials from the deck if your opponent controls a monster special summon from the extra deck. From there, I have several key reasons why Lunalight Fusion is not comparable to Serenade Fusion. The first should be fairly obvious, the fact that it still requires you to have a material from your hand or your side of the field in order to perform the summon. While this may seem like a minute detail, it actually creates drastic differences in when this card is applicable. The card loses its effectiveness in low resource situations, especially when you're in a top decking scenario, which is unfortunate, because this type of card design was made for situations exactly like those. Back in the day, drawing Serenade Fusion with nothing else in hand against an opponent's board immediately put you back into the duel. However, in contrast to that, drawing Lunalight Fusion with nothing else in hand is probably one of the worst situations to find yourself in. It is important to note that Lunalight Fusion, like Serenade Fusion, is also searchable, thanks to Yellow Marten. However, the problem there is that it's difficult to trigger the effect of Yellow Marten in OTK-oriented builds due to the lack of utility in the deck. One of the only ways to trigger her effect is through Emerald Bird or through a fusion summon, and if you were performing the latter already, you likely didn't need Lunalight Fusion to begin with. So the condensed reasoning as to why Lunalight Fusion isn't the greatest support release for the archetype is this. Lunalights can already set up excessive amounts of damage to OTK without the help of Lunalight Fusion. Leo Dancer also isn't the end-all, be-all of the deck, and in 99% of scenarios, Panther Dancer does the job just fine, if not better. It's okay to play this card, but it shouldn't become the centerpiece of the deck like how Shaddoll Fusion was for Shaddolls. The potential of this new Lunalight support is incredible and has taken the deck to an entirely new ceiling. And just as I said in the previous video with Ostinato, don't restrict yourself to the limitations of an archetype's design and expand your horizons to include a wide variety of perspectives. This mindset doesn't just apply to Lunalight players, it applies to Yu-Gi-Oh! Players in general. The top tier decks don't become top tier overnight. It takes the minds of hundreds, even thousands of players constantly working on, building upon, and polishing up each other's ideas to shape the game that we see today. So don't hold yourself back and let your creativity flourish. And with that being said, I end my turn and I pass this question off to you. What are your thoughts around the new Lunalight support, and what steps are you taking to elevate the Lunalight archetype to the next level? What was your favorite support card out of the 5, and what else would you like to see from Konami in the future? Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content. And until next time, take care.